Okay, so Assalamualaikum and very good morning to all. So pagi ni kita akan proceed with the phylum Platyhelminthes, iaitu under kingdom Animalia for invertebrates. Then this is the thing, slightly almost similar with the previous one, iaitu we are going to have a look on the introduction, general characteristic, ecology, importance in the ecosystem. So today we are going to focus on the platyhelminthes. Again, we have already learned about Porifera, Cnidaria and juga Ctenophora for the last 2 weeks. And as you can see that this one adalah flatworms. This is the Monogenian. This is the flukes dan juga tapeworm. Ada lagi yang baru nak masuk ke? 34. Okay. So for this one ada like the previous one, kita akan tengok the main characteristic, the list 3 example of platyhelminthes dan juga how are we going to describe, okay, untuk their characteristic in relation to their role as a free living or parasite. Okay. Basically, this is the general characteristic. Ada lagi yang nak in ke? Okay. On the left-hand side adalah the Planarella, liver fluke dan juga this one adalah tapeworm. So selalunya inilah di antara parasites ataupun cacing-cacing belongs to the Platyhelminthes phylum yang biasa dijumpai, especially kalau the tapeworm ni selalunya can be found dalam humans punya stomach ataupun dalam badan any types of animal. It is due to normally sometimes bila kita makan ataupun kita even bermain ataupun gardening during the gardening without wearing any glove. So that's why maybe there's some sort of like dia punya telur akan berada di situ ataupun the very small larvae that we can't find ataupun we can see it with our naked eye. So and then they stuck in your fingers ataupun in between your nail. So selalunya itulah yang akan memberikan ataupun they will be transferred into the body system. Okay, the body plan mostly monoecious ataupun with cross fertilization seperti Tubularia ataupun Planaria, Trematode, fluke dan juga Cestoda. Okay, kalau kita tengok this is how it looks like, the body structure ataupun what builds them. Dia ada acoelomate, pseudocoelomate ataupun eucoelomate. And this is how it looks like under the cross section of the acoelomate under the light microscope selepas kita bagi staining. Okay, the diversity, we have the class Tubularia. Free living worms from terrestrial, freshwater dan juga marine environment. Manakala kelas Monogenia for this one, all parasitics mainly ectoparasites of fish. Kita ada juga kelas Trematode iaitu parasites in digestive tracts of vertebrates. So ini selalunya yang banyak dijumpai dalam kita punya digestive tract sebab bila kita tangan ataupun anything yang we touch before we wash our hand, especially for human, then they will be transferred into the body system. And the class Cestatoda iaitu all parasites in all classes of vertebrates except kepada agnatans. So dia akan berada dalam semua class of vertebrates. Hadir kecuali agnatans saja. And this is one of the example of the tapeworm that been found ataupun been isolated or even or that been taken out from the human's stomach previously. Okey. Boleh tengok tak semua orang?
Ni doktor.
Jom. Ada lagi tak yang waiting? Tak ada 35 saja. Okey. This is the bladder-like larvae of the tapeworm. Okay. Dia macam bladder, you nampak kan? Tapi it's actually the tapeworm, iaitu Tinea pisiformis in body cavity of a rabbit. You nampak ni. So bila once this kind of tapeworm, dia starts to get into your body ataupun is there any vertebrates animal, so they will harm because at the same time dia adalah parasites dan juga knowing the parasites characteristic, they are looking for a food from their host. Okay, again, this is another one or another time for the tapeworm that been taken out from the stomach of the vertebrate. And this is how it looks like bila under scanning electron microscope, iaitu SEM. And you can see that this is the fluke or what we call dia punya claw that are going to be used untuk attach with the floor of the stomach of the host. Okay, it's very difficult because at the same time they do have very small spike to attach to your tummy. And this is how it looks like. Okay, it's all been because of the tapeworm is very long, so sometimes it will cover. Dia akan membesar dan engulf ataupun it's not exactly engulf, tetapi dia akan melingkari the rest of your stomach. And this is the fluke. For example of the fluke. So all of them adalah parasitic. Okay. The basic body plan for Planaria. Dia ada, bila kita cross section this one, dia ada ectoderm, mesoderm dan juga endoderm. There are 3 layers of the germ. The first phylum to have all 3. Okay, the first phylum yang been identified to have all 3, ectoderm, endoderm dan juga mesoderm. As you can see that here, okay, kalau kita tengok dia punya phylogenetic tree, this is the group of the Platyhelminthes. Tengok yang biru ni. Okay, sampailah kepada Cestoda. From Tubularia kepada Cestoda. Okay, dia punya how it looks like bila kita divide into phylogenetic tree, on what basis that normally we the previous scientists characterize diorang based on host life cycles with arthropod host, adult tegumen syncytial, host life cycle with arthropod ataupun bersama dengan vertebrate, dan juga this one adalah endoparasit. So this is how it looks like. This is the characteristics that selalunya akan menjadi the main focus of the scientists untuk membezakan antara or group them into different phyla. Okay, and then for this one, bila under PhylumPlatyhelminthes, this is how the characteristic that been used, iaitu the first one adalah no locomotory cilia in adults, semuanya tak ada cilia. Okay, posterior adhesive organ dan juga dia ada Melis gland. Tapi kalau kita as common people, we just can call them as a normal groups of worms. Am I right? Tetapi they do have slightly different in between. So itulah yang membezakan. For example, like you go for a shop ataupun you go to any stationery shop, you want to buy a pen, red pen. Okay, your intention just to have a red pen. Tetapi there are lots of red pen and the lots of brand of red pens that available that you can choose from. Am I right? Okay, this is how it looks like. So it depends to the people, or in this case, it depends to the characteristic of that particular organism. Ada lagi dalam group? Tak ada dah. 36 of you all together. Okay. Class Tubularia. Very nice and sweet one. Okay. Sangatlah flat. Free living. Dia punya size between 5 mm until 50 cm. Dia lokomotif ataupun pergerakan locomotion menggunakan ciliary dan juga muscular movement. Mouth on ventral side, you should be able to know that which one is ventral and which one is dorsal posterior. The characteristic to distinguish the order, form of the gut, sama ada presence ataupun absent, sama ada simple or branch dan juga pattern of branching. Dia punya pharynx selalunya simple, folded dan juga bulbous. Contoh, Amphicoleps species iaitu dia boleh swimming. Manakala Pseudocerus and Coccanum adalah cara gliding. They glide from one place to another. Okay, this is for one of the example. Okay, the gut. Tengok gut dia kat dalam ni. Okay, bagaimana perut-perut dia. Sama ada ataupun tak ada. Simple, and this one adalah branches. This one also branches. Okay, then also pada masa yang sama kita kena tengok the pattern of the branch. Yang ni pattern macam ni. Okay, yang this one adalah pattern like this one. And then this one is very simple one. Right, the anatomy. Without a doubt, kita akan tengok bila when we learn about plants or even the animal, kita akan tengok dia punya anatomy. How it looks like bila kita tengok belahannya. Okay, again, this is the, what are these? This is a Planaria. Okay, they're the brain. Okay, Planaria is very smart one. They're the brain, they have eye, the pharynx, they do have mouth dekat belakang ni. Intestine, ventrolateral nerve dan juga sensory lobe. Again, this is how it looks like. Okay, and then bila kita cross section, this is how the Planaria body been built. Okay, ada mesoderm, ada ectoderm. They do have endoderm dan juga cilia, slightly very small cilia untuk dia punya the movement. Okay. Again, the mouth at the back, slightly at the back of the body, the gastrovascular cavity, the eye spots dan juga ganglia. And not forgotten, they do have the ventral nerve cord in order to sense any kind of movement ataupun is there any for sort of like maybe food untuk diorang punya as a food source. Okay, the reproduction for Tubularia. Okay, this is one of the example of the Tubularia. Contoh, is there any more waiting? Tak ada. Freshwater Planaria mostly reproduce sexually ataupun oviparous. Some adalah parthenogenesis. Okay, again, you pergelah kat sini ataupun you cut off this area, they will regrowth. Or even you cut about this size ataupun within this zone, still can regrowth. Okay, that's why we call it as a parthenogenesis. Family Dugicidae dan juga Planaridae occasionally reproduce by binary fission. Okay, this is how it looks like. Okay, by binary fission. One from one, what we call one organism, then they will become two punya organism. Okay. Asexual, tengok the differences between sexual dan juga asexual reproduction from this particular Planaria. Okay, daripada satu, asexual. So then they will divide into two. Genetically similar individu. Of course, sebab dia datang dari individu yang sama, cuma dia divide into two. Narfa Izzah is waiting in the lobby. Okay, untuk sexual reproduction, they do have male and female. Then this one develop ataupun diproduce sama ada zygote ataupun at the same time, they produce the sperm ataupun the ovum. Then they will fuse together, fertilize, and at the same time they will, at the end, they will come out dengan zygote yang finally develop into genetically different individual. Okay, untuk color, which is very nice color. Cuba you tengok dekat Pseudocerus species. Very bright blue color, bluish color, and also with the orange dot slightly. And this is how they camouflage with the substrate ataupun any environment. Okay, camouflage to avoid being seen by the predator. Of course, dia nak selamat, right? Bright color, warm predators of toxin ataupun distressful chemicals. Okay, we know that even from the previous lecture, or sometimes there are lots of documentary stating that if that small animals with the bright color selalunya dia adalah untuk warm the predator and at the same time give some sort of signs to us, especially for human, untuk recognize and appreciate them as a dangerous punya animals ataupun any beetles or some sort of like orang kata apa, any types of species. Okay, sama juga dengan kita ada what we call scorpion, for example, with the bright color, the black, selalunya dia punya background adalah black together with the bright orange. So it warns dia punya predator, I am very dangerous. Okay, we proceed with the class Monogenia. What we want to know about class Monogenia, this is how it looks like again under the scanning electron microscope, okay, dan juga the transmission electron microscope. Okay, you can see that this is how it looks like. About 11,000 species, bukan satu ataupun dua, but 11,000. All parasites adapt primarily on gills dan juga external surface of fish. Okay, Monogenia selalunya pada ikan. Critical when hosts are packed together, fish farming, sebab they can move from one individual of fish to another. Dia adalah single host, body has head, trunk dan juga hapter. Hapter adalah hook dan juga sucker. So this is dia punya hook. And this is dia punya hook and sucker at the same time. Okay, hook and this one adalah dia punya sucker untuk suck any proteins or any foods from the host. Life cycle, eggs on Miracidium ataupun ciliated larvae with hook, and finally adult stage. Very simple organism, tetapi it's very harmful, especially for the fish. Right, so this is how it looks like. Okay, this is with the spike or hook, and this organ adalah untuk sucking any food ataupun from the body of the ataupun internally of the host. Contoh, Dactylogyrus species from fresh pada freshwater fish gill. Okay, clinical signs include opaque mucus covering the gills, protrusion of the gill filament from under the gill cover, and which later akan increase respiratory rate. For example, like you ada some sort of like ataupun you baru dapatkan ada one or two fish, freshwater fish dari somewhere from ponds, dan you bawa balik and letak dalam aquarium, and you found that it's very difficult untuk the fish breeding ataupun dia punya breeding rate sangat cepat. So there might be something underneath ataupun inside the gill yang telah pun get into it ataupun try to invade that particular fish gill. Acute infection are characterized by a short period of dyspnea followed by a sudden death. Okay, sometimes kita tengok tiba-tiba kenapa ikan kita mati, especially the ornamental fish. Ornamental fish selalunya adalah dari freshwater. It might be caused by this kind ataupun this fella daripada Monogenia. Okay, class Trematode. This is how it looks like. Dia ada oral sucker dekat ujung. Dia ada excretory bladder. And in between, they do have uterus dan juga ventral sucker. So this is how this particular organs that helps this organism untuk membantu mereka once we declare ataupun the previous scientists declare them as a parasite. This is how it looks like ataupun this is all the organs that been built. Okay, then they have the ovary dan juga vitelline. Roughly for class Trematode, we have ataupun that been recognized So far ada 11,000. Iaitu between 0.2 mm until 6 cm. Dia punya size. Adalah parasitic flukes adults as endoparasites of vertebrates. Leaf-like form adaptation for parasitism. The various penetration gland to produce cyst materials. Dia punya adhesion organs adalah sucker dan juga hooks. Okay. Macam juga same goes to the leech, lintah dan juga pacat. Increase reproductive capacity, mouth at the interior end with oral sucker. Okay, this one. Then sense organ poorly developed. Okay, sangatlah dia punya sangatlah poor. Untuk trematode, the life cycle that we can see here adalah dia merupakan intermediate host ataupun memerlukan intermediate host. Contohnya mollusk iaitu snail for trematode. Okay. Definite host seperti vertebrate in which sexual reproduction akan berlaku pada definite host. Manakala dia punya life cycles of trematode adalah egg, miracidium, sporocytes, radia, cesaria, metacesaria dan seterusnya adalah adults. Contoh seperti Chloronicus sinensis iaitu liver fluke in human. About 30 million cases in Asia normally been reported, especially those who love to eat raw fish. Okay, and this is how the life cycles of the trematode. We have an adults dalam definite host, iaitu any vertebrates. Then they will release the egg. Eggs released in feces or urine or sputum. Eggs containing miracidium eaten by a snail. So the snail adalah dia punya intermediate host sebelum the larvae ataupun dia punya cesaria stage 2 been released to the environment. Especially dia punya water environment. Okay, untuk Chloronosis sinensis iaitu panjangnya ataupun the size adalah about 2.5 cm. Okay. Can release or produce 4,000 eggs per day. Untuk selama 6 months until 4,000 eggs per day selama 6 bulan. Can you imagine berapa banyak dalam masa 6 months the eggs of this particular Chloronosis sinensis ini boleh di-produce. Adult habitat, bulk diet of fish-eating mammals. Dia punya life between 15 to 30 years. Intermediate host one, snail Paraphosaurus, iaitu dekat tissue to liver. So dia akan migrate. The first thing first adalah at the tissue, then they will starts to burrow dan merge ataupun migrate to liver. Manakala for intermediate host two, selalunya especially kepada fish family Cyprididae, bore under scale to muscle. So fish, as you know that dia mempunyai scale untuk protect, same goes to like human, we have our skin. But this particular Chloronosis sinensis akan burrow underneath of the scale untuk get into the muscle of the fish. The symptoms selalunya adalah abdominal pain, liver cancer dan juga jaundice. Untuk human yang get this kind of infection, hasil makan dari raw fish. Okay. Tengok dekat sini bagaimana dia punya. This is the intermediate host. See? The snail. Right? Then, dalam snail akan stage radia. Lepas tu, dia release everything. And then cesaria. And then, lama-lama akan been they are trying to get into any potential fish, especially the family of Cyprinidae. Okay. Dan selalunya di dalam ikan ini, so they were working very hard, and which later human will eat this particular fish, especially the raw fish, so that if this particular species exists in that fish yang dimakan secara raw, so they will get into your liver, right? And then finally they will become a home there. So they have a fluke. It's very difficult untuk you flush out this particular fella sebab dia ada some sort of hook untuk attach kepada kita punya liver. Okay, masa-masa pada liver. Again, the life cycle of Chlornosis sinensis, the Chinese or Oriental liver fluke. Okay, tengok, this is the intermediate host, a snail. And then cesarea exit from the snail. Okay, dilepaskan. Dia tak akan harm this particular intermediate host. Okay, to bear in mind, they won't harm this particular intermediate host. But bila dilepaskan, so they'll find their Cyprinidae fish group ataupun fish species, and which later cesarea penetrate the skin of a fish and site in fish muscle as metacesarea, and the human ate the raw fish lepas tu, or undercooked one, and then this particular axis ataupun cesarea akan go to straight away into small intestine sebab kita makan using our digestive tract, right? And immature worm migrates into bile ducts of the liver, and towards the end, dia akan mature and produce eggs pada liver, and which later they will pass into feces, okay, kepada mana-mana water bodies. So, this is how is dia punya life cycle. And then again, dia punya miracidium hatch from eggs. In fact, the first intermediate host, a snail again, dan the life cycle goes on until to the end. There will be no ending story for this particular fella. Okay, but for human, it will harm the human. Tadi kita dah tengok akan boleh menyebabkan the cancer cell ataupun jaundice sometimes. 2 participants are waiting in the lobby. Okay. Chlornosis sinensis, this is how the eggs looks like by Papas and Wardrop. And this one, sorry. Okay, this one adalah dia punya stage adult. Okay. So kalau you tengok, macam sort of like, pernah tengok tak telur lalat? Okay, maybe or roughly like that small. Or even smaller than that one. Okay, bear in mind, this is how it looks like bila berlakunya the fluke dalam liver. Okay, you can see that the first one, the second one, and the third one. Ini adalah fasciola hepatica dalam sheep dan juga bovine. See, they are invading the rest of the liver. Ini adalah fasciolades magna in deer. Okay, pada deer. Bagaimana kita tengok group Trematode, iaitu liver fluke. So, ending dia, this one, the sheep selalunya akan mati. Dan juga same goes to the deer. Untuk group Trematode, another species adalah Cystosoma species. Disease dia dinamakan Schistosomiasis. Okay, terdapat 2 hosts iaitu human dan juga snail. Again, snail will become dia punya intermediate host. Dan mainly happen ataupun reported in Africa. Especially the Aswan High Dam in Egypt, iaitu 70% prevalence among the fishermen. Okay, kehadiran dia about 76%. Eggs in intestinal wall cause abdominal pain, ulceration, abscesses dan juga bloody diarrhea. Dan eggs adalah ataupun the eggs tu akan block any organs bila dia dah masuk ke dalam badan. So bila dia hatch ataupun dia produce lots of eggs. Macam tadi kan, one of the species, Solensis, yang menghasilkan about 4,000 eggs per day. So can you imagine 4,000 eggs per day within 48 hours? How many thousand of eggs already been produced ataupun be released into the humans ataupun the host, the final host punya organ. So then it will later block the organ. Okay, nampak ni? What happened to this particular kicks? Okay, nampak perut dia buncit, right? It's all due to the accumulation of the eggs of this particular trematode. Okay, nampak? Kurus je tetapi buncit. Okay. Okay, so this one nanti dalam your note saya rasa dia dapat very easy lah. So, at the end, suka mandi dekat sungai. Then, you will come the snail. The snail swimming near you or surrounding you. But at the same time, dalam snail, they do have that kind of larvae ataupun cesaria punya stage, which later will be released from the snail to the environment. So, by accident, those who were there at the same times and at the same spot, so they will get infected. Okay, tengok daripada transmission electron microscope. So this is the sucker yang bulat yang tengah ni. Okay, and this is dia punya hook. Like I said, it's almost quite similar with the leeches dan juga pacat. Untuk kelas Cestodia ataupun Cestoda, nearly 3,400 species. Contoh tapeworms adalah iaitu body, dia akan attack pada body kita. Scolex mempunyai scolex, neck dan juga strobila. Itulah adalah dia punya organs that are going to be used untuk to make sure they will sustain ataupun retain in that particular host. Long flat bodies with linear series of sets of reproductive organs. Satu set ada satu prolontic. No digestive system. Entire surface covered with microtrich, iaitu minutes of production for nutrient absorption. So dia akan microtrich, and then at 1 minute ataupun minutes projection, dia boleh dah dapat the nutrient yang dia perlukan. Nearly all monoecious specialized structure scolex, iaitu untuk attach to the organ, normally with hooks dan juga sucker, and requires two hosts, iaitu intermediate host dan juga invertebrates. Especially adults, peringkat adults dalam digestive tract of the vertebrates. Okay, this is how it looks like for Trematode saginata. It's cute one, very nice, but it's very dangerous. This one adalah Diphlobothyrium species. This one adalah Taenia pisciformis, and this one adalah Taenia solium. Okay, almost quite similar between each other, but they're slightly different in terms of certain small characteristics. Right, so this is the tapeworm that managed to be isolated from the human's intestine. Can you see that how big, how long these tapeworms invades in your intestine? Okay, the Taenia species, the most popular one, okay, iaitu boleh can cause important economic importance. Why? Sebab dia adalah beef tapeworm, especially for Taenia saginata. Manakala Taenia solium, dia adalah merupakan pork tapeworm, iaitu pada both juvenile dan adults can develop in humans, boleh can cause blindness, serious neurological symptoms, and towards the end can cause death. Manakala adults in human intestine, sementara juvenile ataupun cysticerci in intermuscular tissue of cattle dan juga pigs, scolex with sucker but no hook, Dan manakala short neck, scarlet dan juga strobila up to 2,000 proglotics. So bayangkan how many of them will be inside the body system. Pukul berapa masuk kelas ni? Dah 8.40. 8.50. Okey, untuk cysticercosis, iaitu Cysticerus cellulose in pigs is the intermediate stage for Taenia solium. Longer than Taenia saginata. Yang saginata tadi adalah beef tapeworm. Iaitu pada in small intestine of human, no health implication for Taenia saginata, iaitu adalah beef tapeworm. But it's vice versa for Taenia solium in pigs ataupun pig tapeworms, which finally can cause death to the end consumer, iaitu human. Okay, the life cycle after 2 or 3 months of cysticercosis in pigs. Okay, pearly white cyst with an invaginated scallop move to the muscle. The injection of proglotides by scavenging pigs, transmission of cysticercosis to swine, for example, like use of human excrement as fertilizer. Larvae hatch from eggs in intestine, migrate to muscle, especially tissue, brain, liver dan juga other organs. So bila dia dah cover, dia dah migrate and invade every single organ or muscle of the humans, so what are the ataupun where are the parts of the humans yang akan tak been invades? So that's why towards the end they can cause death. Okay, what are the symptoms that normally caused by this cysticercosis? Iaitu headache, dizziness, hypercephalus, loss of vision dan juga nausea. Okay, towards the end akan menyebabkan kematian. Okay, the bovine, as you can see right here, the skeletal muscle dan juga heart, both heart dan juga skeletal muscle contain low numbers of cysticercosis. Okay, very low number. Nampak ni? Yang putih ni, spotted dalam muscle. Okay, this one and this one, this one. Tetapi, ini for Taenia saginata yang beef tapeworm tadi tu. But, tengok from the tapeworm ataupun Taenia solium ataupun pig tapeworm, as you can see that dia punya larvae penuh whitish here. Ini adalah the Taenia solium, iaitu tapeworm untuk pig. Each cyst contains a single inverted scallop. So selalunya kalau inverted maknanya it's very difficult untuk get rid of them, dan they will purely ataupun akan attach with the muscle surrounding them sangat kuat. See the difference between beef tapeworm dan juga pig tapeworm. Right. So ini adalah how it looks like for the cysticercosis punya stage. And this is normal human brain. And this is human brain with cysticercosis. Selepas di-invade by the Taenia solium. Okay, again the Taenia solium. This is the scientist ataupun the doctor, the veterinarian that managed to isolate the Taenia solium from the pig. The pork tapeworm infect 50 million people per year, kills nearly 50,000 people per year in developing country. Okay, as you can see that this is Associate Professor like Woolers. Developed vaccine by isolating the genes of protein taken from tapeworm eggs dan juga then growing those genes in bacteria to generate a pure vaccine protein. Digunakan field trial di Mexico, Peru, Cameroon. It's not Cameron Highland, Cameroon, negara Cameroon dan juga Honduras. Tetapi walaupun telah pun divaccinated, the pig already been vaccinated, had 99.5% immunity against the Taenia solium parasites. Tetapi cysticercosis is the leading cause of epilepsy in many countries. especially the developing world. Okay, so masih ada lagi walaupun been vaccinated against, but somehow this kind of tapeworms, maybe they are really smart, so they will starts to become ataupun trying to based on the environment because they want to survive. Okay, ini kalau dia pergi kepada bahagian mata, as you can see that here, they do have the hooks dan juga the sucker at the same times. It's very dangerous. Make sure that kalau you pergi swimming, tak kisahlah dekat fresh water, dekat air sungai, make sure that you wear a glove. Okay, the summary. What is platyhelminthes? Okay, you should be able to know that we have 4 classes of platyhelminthes: the Tubularia, the Monogenia, the Cestoda dan juga Trematode. They are invertebrates. Some of the species are parasites. Not segmented, tak ada segment. Okay, do not have any cavity. So this is all the groups of the flatworms ataupun the platyhelminthes. Okay, characteristic, free living, commercial ataupun parasites. Depends kepada which class. Their body is unsegmented except class Cestoda. Mostly monoecious, iaitu hermaphrodite. Acoelomate without any body cavity. Dan space between various organ filled with special mesodermal tissue, iaitu mesenchyma dan juga parenchyma. Okay. Dan we want to see that the Tubularia, this is the summary from today's class. Free living, flatworm that flatten dorsoventral, muscular mouth of pharynx as well as a sac-like digestive cavity. Okay. Untuk trematode, fluke, parasitic flatworm, cover with non-cellular cuticle. Most are flattened dan juga leaf-like or ribbon-like. The body is solid and filled with a spongy connective tissue. Digestive system consists of a simple sac with a mouth either at the interior end or in the middle of the ventral surface. As you can see that this is the oral suckle and this one adalah dia punya excretory pore. So their body system is very simple. Even though they do have few organs like ovary, okay, ada interior testes, ada bladder, but this is how it looks like. Cestodia definitely merupakan parasitic flatworm. They do have the hook, they do have the scolet, they do have the sucker, and at the same time, they do have a neck. Ini adalah the cross section only bahagian kepala. Bila kita cross section the body, inilah hasilnya. We have the testis, the vagina, genital pore, sperm duct, uterus, proglottic dan juga ovary. Manakala for the Monogenia adalah parasitic flatworm. The body covered by living syncytial tegumen. Digestive system dia mempunyai pharynx, sac-like or branch intestine flat leaf shape. Okay. So this is how it looks like. Dia punya sucker ada kat tengah ni. And this is dia punya large pectoral hook. So bayangkan bagaimana dia punya suck untuk suck pada certain dia punya predators. Okay, this is some sort of example of test of exam question. Example, okay, list 2 characteristic of the body wall of the phyla, porifera dan juga Cnidaria. Okay, I want you guys to do this and then I will post it on the LMS later. And what is the ecological importance of Platyhelminthes? The disease caused by the parasitic Platyhelminthes dan juga you need to distinguish between Cypomedusae dan juga Hydromedusae. If, okay, this is sort of like example yang you boleh fikirkan dan tengok. Okay. The important notes adalah the characteristic of Platyhelminthes, the difference between helminthes classes. Okay, ada 4 classes tadi kan. Trematode, Monogenia, lagi apa dia? Lagi 2. Okay. Another 30 seconds reminder. Make sure that you stay safe. You practice the SOP. Dan juga pada masa yang sama, midterm test is around the corner. Right? So is there any question?